Indoors and outdoors are two completely different environments, and therefore they're going to require different growing methods. So growing outdoors, growing in soil is great, again, if it's outdoors. Growing indoors requires a different growing method, and that growing method is hydroponics.
You're listening to How to Hydroponic with Ryan and Tessa.
This is the first episode of our series, and we're going to share an amazing gardening method for indoors and why it seems like you kill every plant you touch, and how to change that death thumb into a green thumb.
So early on when we were starting out, we were doing garden shows and we were trying to teach people about indoor gardening. People would come up and we'd try and tell them, hey, this is a way, and they'd cut us off and tell us like, listen, I've tried growing indoors. I can't grow indoors. I'm cursed. Everything I touch dies. I can't keep a cactus alive. I have killed some of my plastic plants. Like it's to a point where they've pretty much completely given up on indoor gardening. And this isn't actually all that uncommon. We started to look into it and we were starting to figure out exactly why it is that you might think that you can't grow indoors because every time you try it dies. But when you grow outdoors, it just seems like it's totally different and things do grow.
Yes, and so when you grow outdoors in soil, you have this amazing ecosystem kind of working in unity where you have kind of organic matter. It falls down into the soil, it gets broken down, then into nutrients, so the plant takes up, it grows, it dies, and it's just this cycle that happens, and you're not really part of it. And it's great. Works great. However, when you take that soil and you remove it from this ecosystem, because then you take it indoors, things start falling apart.
Exactly. Now you're basically taking that soil from outside inside and kind of assuming it's going to have that same environment to work with. But remember, it's a completely different environment than the outdoors. You don't have that ecosystem that's constantly feeding the soil so it has nutrients. You often won't have the sun constantly able to give it sunlight, or the rain to constantly give it the water in the right amounts, or the proper drainage and everything else that's outside. And what this kind of does is it sets you up to fail at the very beginning. And this is what we found why people struggle so much when it comes to growing indoors. And it really meant that we really have to look at growing indoors in a totally different way.
Yes. So we have to treat it, indoors and outdoors are two completely different environments, and therefore they're going to require different growing methods. So growing outdoors, growing in soil is great, again, if it's outdoors. Growing indoors requires a different growing method, and that growing method is hydroponics.
So maybe this is the first time you've heard about hydroponics, maybe you heard about it before. Hydroponics is quite simply growing food without soil. It might sound crazy because we always have understood soil is what it grows in. It must need soil to grow. This sounds hooky.
Yes, but it's not.
No.
Actually, hydroponics has been around for thousands of years. The Aztecs and the Babylonians used it to grow their own food, and now with modern technology, we can kind of level it up and start taking it indoors and growing inside.
So like we mentioned before, the soil, if that's where you're getting all of your nutrients from, like you would outdoors, now when you remove that and you're able to use a water nutrient solution, all the issues you were dealing with soil indoors, that's gone. And you finally can start to control that environment for your plants indoors entirely. So instead of relying on the sun, you can use grow lights. That's where that new technology has come in. And you have this water nutrient solution constantly circulating that feeds them with their water, with all the nutrients that they need to grow, as well as you have a really clean, perfect, what would you call it, a very good environment for plants to grow where they don't have to worry about pests or deer or frost and a bunch of the other elements that can really hurt a garden.
And because you can provide this perfect environment that you can control, plants thrive in hydroponics. They can grow 2 times faster, and that's just because they're getting everything that they need in the proper amounts, and they can grow up to 3 times more fruits and vegetables per a plant.
Yes, and another really neat thing is because they're able to grow so quickly, that means that you're actually going to be getting more and more seasons, if you will, or more opportunities to grow than you would if you were growing outdoors. You can do this all year round. That means that you're now getting 10, 12 harvests a year, and you're doing it in the same amount of space that you were getting one harvest before. So it becomes hyper efficient.
And with hydroponics, you actually use about 90% less water than you would in traditional, and that's just because the water just gets recycled. So it will go into a reservoir and it gets pumped, and it just continues to get pumped around the plants until the plants use it up. It doesn't leach out into the soil and just kind of run off.
A really cool thing about hydroponics is because you control this perfect environment, you can grow plants that you were never able to grow before in that environment. So you can start testing tropical varieties. You can take on things that might require more water than you're normally able to get in your climate. And you can grow things in completely inhospitable places because you're able to control that environment entirely.
And finally, one of the best benefits hydroponics has is it allows you to grow in any space. So in places that you normally could not grow, now you can grow gardens, aka inside. You can turn your basement, your spare room, your closet into a gardening space. And this opens up so much opportunity.
Yes, because now you think about this, if you're able to be able to grow all of your food locally, let's say everybody in the community starts growing food indoors, we don't need to be transporting our food thousands of miles all over the world, which means we don't have to spray that food with things that either inhibit it from ripening or protect it from the environments as it's starting to be transported. And this makes our food way more nutritious, as well as a lot less additives on it that could have potentially long-term effects on us.
So you're solving all of these macro problems on a micro level. And this is why it's so revolutionary. As well as with hydroponics, because you're growing indoors, you can grow all year round and have a steady food source, and it's going to be a lot more secure. And so yeah, it's changing the world. It is a game changer. That's why we're so passionate about it. Absolutely love it, and we think everyone should do it.
Yes, this is really how we can make the promising future of food way more abundant, way more affordable, and way healthier. And to us, this is the most logical and simplest way to actually achieve that.
Now, you might have heard 100 different things about hydroponics. There's a lot of myths kind of floating around. You probably have 100 questions popping up in your head, or that you have heard about if hydroponics is bad or is it good. So in the next episode, we are going to debunk all the myths, and we're going to tell you kind of the straight way. We're gonna lead you down and debunk everything.
And if you liked this, you kind of like nerding out and learning even more about hydroponics, I recommend that you get the book that we wrote, which is the Indoor Garden Hydroponic Secrets. You can find that at our website, which is www.hopeinnovation.ca. Also, it helps us a bunch if you can subscribe, follow us, and tell your friends and family about us. If you can help us grow, we promise we will help you grow.